Once the bonds mature in 2022, there will be no more monies coming into this finance authority fund. So you could just
Just in terms of fiscal impact, on page 3 of the report, there are really two things that happen post this payment, and it happens on an accounting basis. But there's about 3.4 million that we've received in the positive cash flow. Again, that's the difference between the 1994 payment that comes with RPTTF, the actual amount of debt service that's owed on the 2004s. That cash flow, I think since 2014, when the 1994s went back on the rocks, has been 3.4 million. So we're going to use 1.7 million to settle the liability to the IRS in full. There will be a 1.7 million that is fund balance of the HPPFA that as of this date, that can be used for special
This is
projects.
extremely
Hopefully,
confusing.
we will continue to collect the full amount of debt service associated with the 1994s. And to the extent that you do, that cash flow, even though it goes negative in the out years, should accumulate. I think just that cash flow is about 4.9 million. So 5 million, 1.7 million, you have about 6 million, 6.7 million, to the extent it continues for capital related projects, of the HPPFA/city. And we talked about, what some of those capital projects might be. The other part of this transaction is that when you adopted, that's actually a separate report to the city, but when we adopted GASB's statement number 54 back in October, we overfunded actually this particular fund not roughly, to the tune of $442,000. That money will go back into the city's general fund balance once we make this payment.
And I think that that's great, given that these are issues that the city has had back from like the 1994 and 2004 bonds, correct?
Yeah,
way,
this
be-
actually
way
has been
before,
ongoing
way
since
before our
04.
time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really good. Hopefully, my colleagues agree to move forward with this item, and it would be great to be able to get the IRS off the city's back. And then the question that I had was, how I would like for us to start looking into making payments to the actual bonds, so that our interest starts coming down. How does it?
Well, it's really the success, the bonds really effectively go away in 2022. Not that long in terms of debt service life. In this particular instance, to the extent the cash flow continues, I would just collect the cash flow. And because this is all under dissolution, and so in that regard, it's not like you can take that cash flow and make debt service payment. Right. You kind of have to use it for capital, so, if you were to pay it would really have to come from some other source. So I would really just use the monies to carry out some, important capital work to be done around the city.
Madam Mayor, I just want to, I know pretty sure you answered the question, just to make sure that I understood that we cannot use this money to pay for it before. That it would be better spent in making improvements to the capital improvements of the city.
I didn't hear the first part. You cannot use this money for,
We can't pay more than the 1.7, like if we decided to make like $300,000 to the bond, that your professional opinion would be to actually use that money somewhere else, correct?
yes,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were both on the same page.
yes.
Thank you.
For clarification, one last time, this will get the IRS, our obligation to the IRS.
I have,
completely
I intended to attach the letter. I don't think I attached it here. There is a letter that we send.
The IRS is on their butt.
We'll send it off tomorrow. Glad to be rid of it, so we don't have to think about it. And, yes, it should settle it in full. And we had the calculation done. We're obligated to make the payment within 60 days of the calculation having been done. And that date is February the 7th, so not a whole lot of time. So we'll take care of it right away.
It's great to hear that with the payment that we made last year and the payment we're making now, if this is approved,
Yeah.
that
Well,
literally
yeah,
this was
so
taken care of in
essentially
2 years, so
Yeah.
that's great.
So just to underscore, so this fund will have accumulated funds of about 5 million at the end of the maturation of these bonds of 2022, let's say.
Well, you're assuming, and,
It's an estimate.
and I'm gonna emphasize the word assuming the cash flow continues. I call it expected cash flow. What I can guarantee you today is you
Could
have
get
Local
cut
7,
because they're a
hopefully
sanctuary city.
positive cash flow continues. It belongs to the HPPFA. So it should.
So it could be, based on projected revenues, it could be 5 plus or minus 1 or 1.5.
Yeah.
And so with these monies, then we can fund city projects. And we went over that last
Capital
time.
projects.
Yeah.
I wanna distinguish that they're capital projects.
No, you made that very clear in the workshop that you provided, and once again, I do wanna clarify. I wanted to appreciate the time, and my colleagues that actually attended, because it actually helped me understand and, gave the public time to understand, so thank you so much for that presentation.
So we had a first and a second on this item, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Board Member Mosqueda,
Yes.
Board Member Pineda,
Yes.
Board Member Macias,
Yes.
Vice Chair Sanabria,
Yes.
Mayor Ortiz.
Yes, motion carries.